shadow in the government's game. Pawn as a child with no face and no name. They stole my past to leave me cold and alone. Always searching for a place that could call home. I was lost in the dark, just a tool in the hand, till she pulled me close and helped me understand. Now the fire inside is starting to rise. I can see the truth through 1,000 lies. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hellhound beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. In the dead of the night, I can hear the call. All the ghosts of my past scratching through the wall. My eyes change colors, the power has grown. With Crowley the hound, I'm never alone. I used to be hollow, a man made of glass, but now I am reclaiming every year that has passed. Every memory is falling right back into place. I know every name and I remember every face. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's a magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hell on beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. I ain't running no more, yeah, I'm ready to fight. Gonna settle that debt in the depth of the night. They tried to break me, they tried to erase, but they can't hide the blood from the scars on my face. The veil is thin and the engine is hot. I'm taking back everything that they thought I forgot. Now I tear through the veil, leave holes in the sky. I can read every thought in the blink of an eye. Danica, my witch, she's the magic in me. Yeah, I finally found what they took from me. With a hellhound beside me, I'm standing my ground. No longer a ghost that's never been found. I remember it all now. Every single face, I'm calling for you in the dead of the night.
Hello, everybody. My name is Henry. Tonight, I'm going to be telling some true ghost stories that happened to me. And they're quite weird. Well, this first story takes place when I lived way up north, up there, almost the very top of Illinois. Well, I had moved to Rock Falls, and of course you heard the story about the canal and the Rock River there and the evil that was taking place there. Well, I was doing handyman jobs, odd jobs, something just to put food on the table, make a little spending money. Well, one day I got a call, and it was a lady said she was calling for her husband, that they had a house and they'd had it for a number of years, but they were trying to fix it up. Well, what part of that don't make no sense? They've had the house for years, bought it as a fixer-upper, and it kind of sat. And they waited all this time, what, for me to show up? I should have known something was up, but needed the money. I enjoyed doing handyman work, a little bit of carpentry work, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But I thought it was kind of odd, but I didn't say nothing. I was just glad somebody mentioned it somewhere. So I finished up the job I was doing, and they set a time that they was gonna meet with me. They was gonna meet me over there in Sterling, there at the plaza, and tell me a little bit about the job and have me follow them up north of Rock Falls, north of Sterling there. It's probably about 10, 12 miles north. Well, I'd never done any work up in there, so I was kind of glad they was meeting me instead of telling me where to go to, because I hadn't been up that way, so it was going to be a new experience, and hey, sound good to me. The pay's good, and they pay me and treat me okay. I'm good for go. I ain't scared of much of anything, including threats or people. I don't take no shit very often. I may take a little bit of shit for just a short time, but I will draw a line in the sand, and if need be, it come to blows. So, come day I was supposed to meet him, and I went over to the plaza, and I'd had my dog with me, because I didn't know these people. I mean, was going to be there. Was going to be a shitload of them, try to jump me, steal the tools in my truck. Good luck with that. So I took my dog with me just in case. You can never have enough backup. I wasn't taking no chances, because I didn't know a whole lot of people up there, just people I was doing jobs for, and this one would tell that one tell this one, so I never knew who the hell was going to call me. I not very often ever turn a job down, big or small, and you can tell the people that aren't as well, how do you say, has a lot of money, and those that don't. Those that don't, I never turn down any job. Sometimes I'd barely break even, but I'd make up the difference on the next bigger job, because my whole purpose for choosing that line of work was to help out those that couldn't afford it. They need help too. And I've been there. Trust me, I have been there. I know what it's like to be poor, and your steps are rotten, and nobody gives a damn. They don't care if you fall down and break your fucking neck. I do care. And I did, and I still do. They only had the money to buy the lumber and the screws. And okay. What are you having for supper? We'll call it even. Or sometimes a pie. You know, that's... I knew what it was like. And I don't care how far you climb up in that rich tree. At any time, that limb could break, and you'd hit every fucking limb coming down there until you hit the ground. And that's a long, hard fall. I've had money. I've been poor. I know what it's like. And I know what it's like when these other people, these contractors, I call them cocksuckers. They drive around their big fancy trucks, and those are the ones when they go to Lowe's and Menards, they go down there to the contractor desk so they can work a shady deal down there, the crooked fucks. And the crooked dealing don't stop there. You be careful when you hire those pricks that has their name on the side of the truck. Says they're licensed and bonded. 90% of them pricks are not licensed or bonded. They just put that on the fucking truck and on their little business card. 'Cause they want you to think they're the big man on campus. Well, let me tell you something. They're big, all right. The biggest fucking screws. If you buy a box of screws or a 5-gallon bucket of screws, I guarantee you, if it's a 5-gallon bucket, they're going to take a gallon of them home with them. Same way with lumber, any other materials they use. Or they'll charge you full price when they go back to their shop or their house and they get a used fucking board and come up there and catch you not looking. They put a used fucking board on there and charge you for a brand new treated piece of lumber. So keep an eye on them shady pricks, because they are shady. Personally, I think they ought all of them be tied to a fucking tree and horsewhipped. And I'd even donate the fucking switch. But anyway, now that I'm done with that rant about them son of a bitches, they wouldn't lift a finger to help somebody poor. They only work for cash. Cash on the barrel. Well, there's lots of people out there, and I ain't putting nobody down on stating facts. Don't have that kind of money, but they still need the damn help. And I've gotten screwed over. But most people I've helped that don't have the money were damn glad to get it, whatever the job was, done. And I was happy to see the smile on their face. And I'll tell you how this goes. I have seen this in my many travels, one state to the next, one town to the next, doing odd jobs and having these pricks laugh at me because I would do the job that they told them I wouldn't touch up a 10-foot pole. You can't pay me big money? Psh, you ain't worth it. You are worth it. Don't let these pricks do that to you. Don't give the pricks the satisfaction. So anyway, that's how I worked. Tried to pay back for all the stuff that had been done to me in the projects, the stuff that I was made to do. I tried to give back any place I ever lived. I could throw you out a list of names that look like a fucking Christmas list. And each one of them would tell you I took on jobs that nobody else would because the pay wasn't good enough. Bunch of peckerheads. But anyway, I met these people and was filling them out, and the guy said, look, I've called many a people. Now, I read people like a book, even when they don't think I am. I didn't say nothing, I let him talk. He said, I've tried everybody and called every place I can think of, and nobody will take the job. I'll go on. He said, I got a basement, and I want it finished out. I want the boards put up, drywall. He said, there's a little bit of a mess down there, so we swept it into a pile. You have to get rid of all that stuff first before you can even start, because it'll slow you down. I said, okay, no problem. He said, we have a dumpster ready. I said, is there anything else you want to tell me? Well, we're going to take you up there. Now, we're working upstairs. And he goes, you're probably thinking about a price. And so I was waiting for you to get around to that. I said, now, first off, I will tell you like I tell everybody. Don't misunderstand me. I'm a hard worker. I don't screw nobody over. But I have been screwed over, and I don't take it out on the next guy. Don't push me, meaning don't put a hand on me. Don't talk down to me, because I've served enough time in the service. I won't take no shit. I'll put your ass in the fucking dirt in a heartbeat. So just as long as we're clear on that, I'll work and give you 120%. But don't come in with a bad mood and put your hands on me, because it ain't gonna work out good for you. Other than that, I'm easy going. I said, I like to give everybody that warning, because a few people looked at my stature and thought, I had a bad day at work, I can come home and kick the handyman. Put your fucking ass in dirt, too. He goes, no, I'm a real easygoing guy. I said, we'll get along just fine then. He goes, you still want to know about pay? I said, well, you still want to tell me? I said, if you don't like any part of me, before I get home, I'll get another phone call. And you'll wait. Money's no object. Okay. He goes, so what's your price? I told him out a price. He goes, add another $100 to that. Your money. I wasn't going to treat you any different than somebody that don't have a lot of money. I ain't out here to gouge people. I just want to be able to make some spending money and put food on the table and pay a bill. I said, if something happens, there's a problem that, every Friday you pay me, just let me know so I can make other arrangements. No, he said, money's no object. He said, I'm one of the big shots at Home Depot. Okay, he said, anything you need, you call me and tell me. And he said, I'll pick it up at the home store and have it down there set and inside the house waiting for you. It's okay. He said, now, once in a while, you'll see me and my dad, my mom, my wife, and my sister upstairs doing a bit of work, but we'll stay out of your way. No problem. There's electricity in there. There's a refrigerator. You can put stuff in there, food and drinks, whatever. Nobody bothered. Okay. He said, we prefer if you'd work nights. That should have been another red flag. Okay. But I said, here's the deal. When are you guys going to be to work? And he said, well, we'll work all day, and that time you're coming here, we'll be wrapping up and leaving. I said, okay. Just so you know, I'll be locking the doors in the house, because if I'm downstairs, I don't want somebody sneaking in scaring the shit out of me. That's no problem, we have keys. Okay, so he gave me a key. I followed him up there, and when I pulled up there, this house sits up on top of a big hill, a big hump. I mean, big-ass hump. You could see all the way around. Well, when you look toward the east, northeast, there was a real tiny town over there. There wasn't much there. There was a Dollar General store and some kind of a convenience store. Gas station, like a Huck's, I think it was. He said, if you ever need anything, you can run over to that little convenience store or the Dollar General over there. Just make sure you lock the house before you leave, and then come back, just unlock it with a key. I said, okay. You have any problem? He said, just call me anytime. Okay. So I looked the house over, and the outside was beautiful. Great big ranch-style house. And when you're facing the front door, you look to the left, kind of like when you pull into the driveway, you go to see in this big giant machine shed. Big fancy machine shed. He said, if you have any tools that you just want to keep up here, you can put them in there and just lock the door. He said, that key there to the house also works the shed door. Okay. Now, I didn't ask about anything else. I only stuck with what pertained to the job. So, the first few days, as I was coming in to go to work at night, usually about 8:30 in the evenings, they'd be cleaning up upstairs. They've been working for laying flooring and paint, and they would be getting ready to leave shortly. And that guy would always tell me, so did his wife, you have any problems, anything, just call us. Anytime, we don't care what it is. Okay, that should have been the third heads up. But I just stuck with the job. Well, I went down there and hung up all the hanger boards, and the walls were concrete in that basement, so I had to use a concrete nail gun, air gun, to put the runner boards up to hang the drywall on. Well, I'd got all them up, and it took me a few days, but I got them all up. And I forgot to ask on the stairs, because the stairs come down right in the center of the basement. So I called the guys, hey, I said, do you want around the sides of the stairs, kind of boxed in with drywall, put 2x4 frame and put drywall, and you could have that underneath the stairs for like hanging coats, like a broom closet or anything. And he was like, no, that's okay, just, you don't have to do the stairs. I said, okay, cool. He said, any problems? No. He said, anything at all? No, why? Am I supposed to have a problem? No, just checking. Okay. Well, you call me if you have any. I said, okay, I will. So I got up there, and I was finishing up down there, picking up the trash stuff and put it in the bucket, carried upstairs and out to the roll-off. Dump it in there, and they had old carpet and stuff in there too, so I just poured it in there and went downstairs, and after about 4 or 5 trips back and forth, I got it all cleaned up, and by then it was like 5 in the morning, so I thought, well, no use starting with the drywall, because that was out in the machine shed, stacked up. They had it on top of a couple big long pallets. So I thought, well, I'll come back tomorrow night and start hanging drywall. So I go upstairs, and I was like, well, I gotta go pee, so I better find a toilet somewhere here, or I'll have to step outside in the weeds. Well, I forgot at the top of the stairs, turn to your right, and then go just maybe 5 or 6 steps, 10 steps at most. Turn left, and there was a bathroom. I forgot about that one. They had that door shut, so I think they was in there doing some stuff in there. So I went down to the master bedroom, which is at the other end of the house, and I opened that door, flipped the light on. Jesus Christ, that bedroom and bathroom, beautiful. I mean, it was beautiful the way they done it. But god damn, the walls, the ceiling in the bedroom and the bathroom was freaking blood red. I mean, blood red. Like, holy shit. Hope the hell they ain't the ones gonna move in here. This is something really, really strange. I mean, it was bright red. So after getting over the bright red color, I went in and used the bathroom. In this bathroom, they had a corner tub. It It was one of those jetted tubs, and they had a platform where you went up and stepped over, and then it got down inside the tub. And they even had seats in there that was built into the sides of this thing, and had all these jets in there. You gotta be careful with those jets, especially if you're a guy. Or a woman even. You gotta be careful where you sit. You go to get in that son of a bitch, and them jets come on, and you're right in front of one of them, dude. It could blow anything protruding plumb over to the other side of the tub. Just a word of advice, if you ever go someplace and they got one of those jetted tubs, a woman blow her protruding part plumb over there and knock the guy out. You careful. So anyway, now we got that over with. I got done with my hands and just staring at them red walls like, Jesus damn Christ. What the hell? Must got a deal on some paint or something. So I come out of the bathroom, turned the light off, and I shut the door because they obviously had it shut for a reason. I shut it. Stepped into the bedroom, and Jesus Christ, damn, that red paint, that was just wicked. They even had mirrors on the ceiling. Mirrors all over the walls in there. I mean, go from the floor to the ceiling. Like, what kind of weird shit going on here? But I ain't asking questions like that. So I headed back out, and I thought something missing. What did I forget? So I go back to the stairs to go down in the basement, and I'm thinking, what the hell did I forget? I walk down there and look around and like, I don't know, what the hell I'm missing. Then it dawned on me. I had a box of shells with me because I had a gun with me. So I picked up the box of shells, put them in my coat pocket, headed up and got to the door, and I looked around and turned the inside light off. I left the porch light on. They told me that was okay. They'd shut it off when they got there because they'd be a few hours and they'd be there anyway. So I could see to get to the truck. Grass was kind of deep, probably about knee deep. Places probably a little deeper. But they had mowed a path to the driveway after you got off the sidewalk. Somebody got in the truck. Now I know all them damn curtains were shut. So I go to get in the truck, close the door, and put the shells in the glove box. I put the key in the truck, fired it up, turned the headlights on. And I looked, and them curtains was closed, and all of a sudden, they're open, probably about a foot. Like, I know I shut them damn curtains, because that was part of the deal. They told me to make sure when I leave to shut the curtains. So no looky-loos didn't come up there and decide to break in and steal anything that was in there, tools or whatever. I was like, well, son of a bitch. So I left the truck running with the headlights on. And I walked back up there, unlocked the door, and walked in. I left the door open. I pulled them big curtains that went from the ceiling to the floor, pulled them shut. I stood there for a minute, make sure that, because they had the air conditioner on in there, make sure that they wasn't going to come open again, if they were. But I knew they were closed when I was in there. I locked the door and turned the inside light off, pulled the door shut, pulled the handle a couple times, and it was locked, and I pushed on it to make sure it wasn't going to come open. Shut the outside door, and I went on out the truck. Well, I turned around and headed that driveway, and I thought I'd seen something just out of the corner of my eye come across the sidewalk. There was a sidewalk that went parallel with the house to the driveway, but then there was another one that come straight off the steps, straight down, and then went toward the driveway. There was like two of them that went toward the driveway. But I thought I'd seen something Just a flash, you know. I thought, oh, fuck me, I'm tired. So I sat there for a minute looking, and I didn't see nothing, so I went home. Well, I knew doing this drywall, it was going to take two of us to carry drywall in, carrying like 10 sheets at a time, and then get them on the sawhorse, and you need somebody to hold the one end while you're cutting them, and you get ready to hang them. You know, it's nice you have an extra set of hands. So I talked to a guy I'd done some work with, and he goes, well, my son's busy, but he said, I'll tell you what. He said, I'm kind of connected to the college. Let me call up there and see if, he said, do they need to know anything? I was like, no. I basically need an extra set of hands. He goes, well, I'll make a phone call and I'll get back with you. I said, okay. I said, now I need them by tonight, if I can. If not, by tomorrow night. He goes, I'll have you somebody. So I went in, went to bed, and went to sleep. Me and the dog. Later that afternoon, probably about 6:30, my phone rang, and it was this guy, and he goes, hey, he said, you know, he stopped, checked around, he's only found one person that needed to work. I said, okay, what's the catch? I said, I know there's a catch, because I can tell by the way you're talking. He goes, do you mind working with a girl? No? I said, does she mind working with a guy? Oh, she's a tomboy. I said, okay, no problem, whatever. He said, I told her what you would pay her an hour. I said, okay. She was okay with that. I said, what about the hours? He goes, the hours work perfect for her. I said, okay. I said, is she just going to meet me there at Sterling and leave her vehicle sit there and then ride on up with me? Or is she going to drive herself? No. She lives there by the plaza, so she'll meet you there and show you where she lives, and then you'll just pick her up from there from now on. I said, okay, no problem. Well, I'll fix me something to eat. Me and the dog had a few errands we had to run, so got done, and I got me a bite to eat. Headed over to the plaza to introduce myself to this girl to come help. Nothing against the girl because she was a good worker. She was a tomboy. But there was only one issue. I smoked, she didn't. Well, if you're going to ride in my vehicle, I'll make sure I keep the sliding glass window open and my side window open, but I'm smoking. That's just the way it was. She never said nothing, but I could tell she wasn't liking the idea about the smoking part, but she could have drove herself. My ride, my rule. Well, we got up there. There were people in there, so I introduced her to them, and I said she'll be working for me. She's a college student, and I'll take full responsibility. They were like, that's your business. So I told them, I said, well, while you guys are finishing up, we're gonna run over to the gas station over there in that small little town in Dollar General store and pick up some snacks and shit. I said, I wasn't sure what my helper here liked as far as drinks or anything, so we're just gonna run over there real quick. I'll be right back. On the way over there, she goes, you know anything about that house? Not other than what they told me. No, do you know the history? I was like, no, why do you? And she goes, I got a newspaper clipping. I'll bring it tomorrow and show you. Okay. said, does it make a difference? Is it a game changer or what? If it is, I just need to know. She goes, no. But she said, I don't want to be left in that anywhere at that place by myself. Would you mind telling me about it? You know, I think it's a need to know basis here. I need to know. She goes, do you ever get any weird feelings there? Yeah. I just kind of blowed off because I'm there by myself and it's up on a hill. She goes, well, the story is, there was some people that moved here. And they were renting from this man and lady. I said, you knew who they were? And she goes, I'm not really sure. She says, I think it's on that newspaper clipping. She goes, but they act like they was upstanding citizens, but late at night, they put up curtains across the window, and downstairs they'd have people come there and they'd running a dog fighting ring in the basement. I said, you serious? She goes, no, I'm dead serious. I said, what happened? She goes, well, they got into it one night. Don't know whether those were dog fights or dope, but there's a couple people got shot and left. And when these people lived at a estate that owned it, got a call from the cops and come down there was piles of dead dogs thrown out the back door into the backyard. She said there was big kennels, there was a big, like an arena made with straw bales. And they would throw the dogs in there to fight. Whatever dogs lost, or was dying or dead, they'd just throw out. Are you sure? She goes, well, didn't you see any kind of mess doll when you come from? I said, no, there was just stuff in the floor, but I carried all that stuff out. She goes, you didn't smell anything? I was like, no, but I said, now you mentioned it, there was a bunch of charcoal poured all over the floor, and they had swept it into a pile. And I said, the only thing you use charcoal for is barbecuing, or it absorbs smell. I said, well, at least now I got an idea why the charcoal was there. I said, how long ago was this? She goes, it ain't been very long ago. I said, bring me that newspaper clipping, will you? Don't say nothing to those people. So we went on, got our stuff, come back and we pulled in the driveway, and she goes, I'm serious. I don't want to be left alone, no place, so I'm going to be like a shadow. No problem. So, these people, we didn't say nothing to them. They got done and said their goodbyes, and they left, and we went in. I told her, I said, well, our work's down in the basement. I said, but we do need to go out and carry 10 sheets of drywall in. I said, there's a thin drywall, so it ain't like the big heavy stuff. I said, we'll just carry them one at a time. You grab one in, I'll grab the other. So we carried in the 10 sheets, and she wasn't lying. She was like a shadow. It was so bad, she was so scared of the dark and of this place, that I said, do you want the front or the back when we're carrying this drywall? And they, like I said, they had it on pallets, and they had like one piece and then a board of 1x on the thing. Then they had another sheet so air could stay in there so it didn't start getting moldy or anything. And she goes, well, who goes out first? I said, well, usually the person in the front goes out first. And it's nighttime. I said, there's lights on this shed and inside the shed, and there's a light on the house, so there's no dark strip, only outside the light. Now, this girl was probably about 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2". Looked like she could have been a basketball player, a beanpole. She goes, Well, if I be in the front, that means I have to go through the door first and be outside the door while you're still inside. I said, well, it's an 8-foot sheet of drywall. That's how it works. But she said, if I'm on the other end, then I'm in the shed by myself just for, I said, probably about 10 or 12 steps. Carrying drywall with her was fun. Started out, she put me in the front because she didn't want to go out the door first. All the way from the time she picked the drywall up, stood it up on edge, she was pushing me to the house. Fine by me. Because it wasn't like I was trying to drag her and the drywall. But damn, when I had to go up the steps to go in the house, that was a little awkward. And these steps, this platform in front of the porch, which was the porch, it had a set of stairs on one side and a set of stairs in the front. Well, to get the drywall in there, we went around so we could just carry it straight upside the stairs, inside the house, and then we just had to make one corner and then make another corner and go down the basement. God damn. About 5 sheets of plywood, and she said, I want to be in the front. I said, okay. Now she wasn't pushing me, she was dragging me. Because I had to take about 2 steps to her 1 step. Good thing I got strong hands because that drywall would have been busted. The corners would have been busted. But we got it carried in. And she goes, we done? I said, yeah, we got 10 sheets carried in. We'll work with this here. And then if we need to, we'll go out and get more and carried in. Otherwise, we'll carry the rest of it, what we need tomorrow night in. So she's sitting there. I measure and mark the drywall. I got the carpet knife out, cut off what I didn't need. I picked it up. I said, you ever use a screw gun before? With a ding on it? A dent ding? She goes, what? I said, well, I don't know what they really call it. I just call it a dent ding. I'll show you. I said, it has like a bowl, and part of it goes into the drill gun, and the other part's like a bowl, and that Phillips head sits recessed inside of it a little bit. And I said, it'll make a dent in that drywall paper so it don't crumble. That's that way when you get ready to tape and mud, it's flush and you don't have a lump there. She goes, yeah, my dad told me how to use a cordless drill, impact drill. I said, good, that's what I got. I said, you're taller than me. You want to do the top ones? I'll do from the middle to the bottom. I said, I'll mark where the center 2 boards are. I said, I'll use the long rule to make the lines. That way you just put the screws there. And I said, once I get the bottom ones in, then I'll start marking and cutting another sheet while you're finishing putting those screws in, make it go faster. So I watched. She did a good job on the first one, so I went ahead and cut the other one, and we did the same thing. We got all that drywall up. I said, well, how about a break? I said, I need to smoke. I said, I don't smoke in people's houses. I said, I don't know if they allow it or not, and I didn't ask, and I ain't going to. I go outside and smoke. I said, if it ever gets to rain, I got umbrellas out there in my toolbox. I always carry 2 because I've had them things break on me and be stuck with no umbrella. Always keep this in mind. 2 is 1, 1 is none. It's no military trick that I live by. The reason they told us that is because if he was going to set a charge and then keep on going and blow up a bridge where the enemy was going to be coming after you, you put 1 charge in there, it may not go off. and now they're gonna chase you even further. So you put two charges in there. The first one will go off, and it'll set the second one off pretty much about the same time. It's guaranteed to work. But if you put one in there and it's a dud, you're gonna get chased. So anyway, that's the story on that. We went out there and carried more drywall in and take a break. I was sitting there in that big machine shed, and it's all lit up. I mean, there are lights everywhere in there. Had the big bay doors open in the front. I sat there in a bucket smoking. She's sitting over there, probably maybe 15 foot away. And while I'm sitting there smoking, I'm drinking on a soda. She's over there eating on snacks, drinking a soda. This damn coon come out of this field into the yard. It seen a light on, decides to come check things out. And let me tell you something. Beanpole there jumped like a frickin' kangaroo. I laughed. She let out a screech and jumped any higher than she'd been up in the damn rafters in that big machine shed. It was funny though. Well, that coon, he didn't bother him. He didn't growl or anything. He had come in there, and as soon as he noticed us, he stood up. I don't know if she'd ever seen a coon or not, but scared the hell out of her, and them eyes are glowing that kind of a greenish blue. I started laughing, and the coon, he didn't know what the hell to do. I think he smelt the food, what it was, and seen the light. Well, he took off, and Jesus Christ. She's like, this place is giving me the creeps. I said, I ain't seen nothing or heard nothing yet. I said, you want to see the creeps? Wait till we go inside. I'll show you the creeps, man. So I smoked a couple cigarettes. Well, we head back in. I said, you want to see something that's creepy as shit? Follow me. Where you going? I said, back here to the master bedroom. I said, nothing funny. I said, just follow me. And you gotta see this. It's fucking creepy. Got through the dining room, the living room, and there's a door, and I said, you ready? And she goes, you ain't playing some kind of trick. I said, no, I'm not playing a damn trick. Wait till you see inside of here. It ain't only the bedroom, but wait till you see the bathroom. I opened that door and I flipped that light on. She was getting ready to run. I said, no, look. I said, look at that red. Mirrors on the ceiling. I said, sit there and look at the bathroom. I turned the light on. She goes, my God. I said, yeah, that's creepy. Blood red bathroom, blood red bedroom. I said, this is supposed to be the master bedroom. They even had blood red carpet that matched the walls and the ceiling. Like, God damn. So we're sitting there laughing. And she said, what kind of freaky shit? I said, I don't know. So we come back out of there. I shut the door. She goes, damn, is the whole house going to look fancy like that? I said, yeah, when they're done. So we come out of there and go down into the basement, and she goes, I don't want to go back to that red bedroom and that red bathroom. But she says, there's another bathroom? I said, yeah, right there. She goes, don't go downstairs. Stand here and wait for me to get done. I said, okay. So she goes in there and does her business. She flushes the toilet, washes her hands, and comes out. And I said, everything work out okay? Yeah. She goes, this house just gives me the creeps. And she goes, hey, I didn't forget. She pulled that newspaper clipping out. I mean, it was like one whole freaking page. And I'm just kind of skimming through it. I was like, holy shit. She goes, if you want to ask them people about it, she said, ask them. I said, well, can I hang on to it? She goes, yeah, that there's an extra one I had. Okay. So I folded it up, put it in my billfold. We're downstairs working. Now upstairs they have paint cans up there full of paint, and they have flooring up there and all kinds of shit, carpet and stuff. We're down there working. And I'm marking the drywall, cut it. I heard something upstairs above my head. Beanpole let out a scream that they probably heard 4 counties away. I don't know which scared me worse. The noise I heard upstairs or Beanpole over there shrieking. Popped my damn ears. Damn. I said, will you please? She sounded like old Jazz Cole, letting out one of them girly screams, I said, be quiet, I can't hear. I said, I heard something, but damn. Make my damn ear ring. So I'm sitting there, and I hear something heavy. Sound like something up there walking and sliding. Like somebody was sliding furniture. So I said, you got a choice. Do you want to follow me upstairs? Or do you want to stay down here? There ain't no door to get out of here. There's only one way in and one way out. She goes, I'll be right behind you. I said, then do me a favor. We're going to play this like when I was in the military. Nothing funny. You put your hand on my shoulder, one hand, so I know exactly where you're at in case I need to take a swing. And I said, no matter when I make a turn or whatever, you keep that hand on my shoulder so I know exactly where you're at behind me. So you don't get clocked. I was just there and grabbed me about a 3-foot piece of 2x4. Started up them stairs, and I got up there. I turned the door handle real slow so it wouldn't make a noise and opened it. No noise. So I peeked around the corner of the door and I didn't see nothing. So I went ahead and finished up the door all the way and gonna take a tour through there, see who now was in the house. We walked all over in that house. There wasn't nobody in there. I said, well, we're going to have to go outside and check. I said, there's tools and stuff out there in that shed, and plus we got all that drywall out there. I said, we're going to have to make a sweep. Same deal. You keep your hand on my shoulder. You see something, don't fucking run, because if you run, you're probably going to get clocked. Your best bet is keep your hand on my shoulder and stay behind me. And I said, for God's sakes, whatever you do, you see something, let me know that you're seeing something and what it is. Don't try to climb on me like I'm a frickin' tree. I said, 'cause I'll knock you silly. We walk out there to the shed, and the lights are still on out there because we was working. Walked all the way through that big machine shed and didn't see nothing, so I come out and I said, we're going to walk down by the truck. I said, fuck, while I'm at it, I might as well smoke. She goes, well, I left my drink downstairs. And let me check around the truck, make sure nobody's here fucking around. So we walked around, I looked inside the truck, there wasn't nothing there, looked under the truck, looked in the bed of the truck, nothing. She goes, now what are you doing? I said, I'm looking for tracks. Maybe somebody come up here and drop somebody out. We just didn't hear them. I didn't see nothing, so wasn't thinking. I was like, well, go get your drink, and I'm going to stand there and smoke. She goes, I told you. I said, yeah, I remember. So we walked in, went down there and got her drink, come back. She got her a Twinkie out of the damn refrigerator. So we was standing there, and I was smoking, and I see something in the basement window. It was like a welding flash. Like, what the fuck? I said, come on, Beanpole. Something going on in the basement. So So we went up there and looked. Nothing. That's fucking weird. It was just like a quick flash. Like a welding flash, like when somebody's welding. So I smoked a couple more cigarettes. She got done and we decided to go back in. She said, "What the hell did you see?" I said, "It was like somebody welding when they start the arc up on a stick welder." My dad was a welder, so I said, amongst other things, I said, so I know what that flash looks like. So we went back in. She goes, "Where did you see it?" I said, "In the basement. Didn't you see it?" She was like, "No." So we go back in and look around, I don't see nothing. So we go down into the basement, and I'm looking around down there thinking, well, maybe an extension cord or something. I don't know. We didn't see nothing, so I looked at the extension cord, made sure there wasn't no cracks and breaks. I didn't get the hell shocked out of me. Nothing. So we go back to work. We probably wasn't working maybe 20, 30 minutes tops. And upstairs, I ain't kidding you, it sounded like somebody picked up that big bed in the master bedroom, picked it up, dropped it, and then slid it as hard as they could up to the other wall and hit it. And we could feel the vibration down there in the basement. What the fuck? So we go back upstairs. My shadow is right behind me. This time, instead of a 2x4, I grabbed my big old 4-foot long crowbar. Like, I'm going to crown somebody's ass. I'm going to put a knot on their head. They'll be big enough to use for a tee on the golfing game, knock a golf ball off the top of their head. We go up there, and I got this crowbar ready. I'm going to ping somebody's ass. We walk through the dining room into the bedroom, and I open the door in this red bedroom. The bed was normally to the far right as you enter that door. This bed was huge. That bed probably weighed about 400 pounds. I mean, it was made out of solid oak. Great big huge old thing. But now it's up against the bathroom door. So I told her, I said, let's see if we can push this back where it was at. And I said, I'll let the owners know when we get ready to leave. We couldn't budge this thing. I said, no problem, I'll just call the owner and tell him. So I'm scratching my head trying to figure out what the hell happened. Well, Beanpole now, she's scared. I mean, she was scared when we got there. I said, well, come on. Whatever it was up here. We were down there, so obviously it's staying away from us. Wherever the fuck it is. We'll go back down to the basement. We're down there working. And she keeps every so often looking up toward that door that I kept shut that goes to the upstairs so we wouldn't get a bunch of dust and stuff up there. They would have been working. I said, I'm glad you're keeping an eye on that door and these windows, because that leaves me time to do what I got to do here, cut these things without cutting my damn fingers. But she didn't laugh. She was scared. I said, hey, look at it this way. It's not in the same room we're in. And when we go up there, everything stops. So, I don't know what it is. But whatever it is, ain't after us, so we got a job to do. Well, she kind of tried to laugh that one off. We were busy working. We worked for quite a while. I say, are you ready? I'm going to go out and have a smoke. You're going to grab your drink and a Twinkie out of the fridge. I said, we'll go outside and sit in the machine shed. Well, the wind kind of picked up a little bit. There was probably about 5 big dead trees that surrounded that whole big yard. I mean, they were big old trees. She's like, this place still gives me the creeps. I said, I know, you told me it 100 times. Well, we went out the door and it was kind of windy. One of those big limbs broke and hit the ground, and I ain't shitting you. It was like she took 5 steps like a deer and was trying to drag me with her to the machine shed. I said, hey, I ain't got long legs like you do. She goes, what the fuck was that? I said, tree limb broke. Hit the ground. That's what I thought it was. So we're out there, and she was pretty nervous, shaking. And I'm sitting there just laughing, kind of funny. So while we're sitting there, she goes, I'm telling you, this place gives me creeps. If I didn't need the money, I'd say fuck it. But she said, the only thing that's keeping me here is because you act like you ain't scared. I said, well, I'd be full of shit if I didn't tell you I was scared. I said, being scared is one thing. That's what keeps you alive. But it ain't tried to hurt us. So, you just got to kind of work through this. I said, shit, just moving where we're at. We'll leave. I guarantee you. And I'll pay for the full night. So we get done, go back in the house. I had several cans of paint there in the kitchen. Well, we had to make the bin go down the hallway and then go down the stairs. I said, you want to go first? Or do you want me to? She goes, either way I'm screwed. I said, what do you mean either way I'm screwed? If I go into the basement, I have to wait for you to take a couple steps to get in the basement. I said, well, I'll go first. She goes, but then again, if I'm last, I'm upstairs while you're going down the steps. I said, well, how about this? I'll just pick you up and throw you downstairs. That way you don't have a choice. She didn't like that idea. I said, okay, let's go. You go first. Okay. So I make the corner and go down 2 steps. I got 2 steps. The second step, I heard a crash, and I ain't shitting you. She come and bumped me down the rest of the stairs. Luckily, I'm agile on my feet, or I'd have slid down them on my back and head. I was like, what the fuck did you do? She goes, it wasn't me. She said, something hit the wall. I said, well, come on, let's go look. So I went up there and I tried to open the door, and the fucking door wouldn't open. Shit. She goes, what is it? I said, the door won't open. There's something, I think, against the door. She started to panic. I said, look, no use panicking. Worst come to worst, I'll knock that frickin' window out over there and we'll go out that way. I said, I can't get this damn door open. I said, what did you see? And she goes, nothing. I just heard something and I took off. I said, yeah. So I'm up there fidgeting with the door. And I'm like, hey, let's just stop for a minute. Get our bearings. I said, I'll try one more time, and if not, I got a sledgehammer downstairs and a crowbar. I'll knock this fucking door off the hinges because they're going to replace it anyway. I thought I'd have to explain to the people. We're sitting there talking. The frickin' door handle turns on this door, and the door swings open. And we're both sitting there dumbfounded. I said, well, come on, I gotta go see what the hell's going on. Walk up there, and there ain't nothing except for 2 gallons of paint up against the corner wall that wasn't there before. She looked at me and I looked at her and I said, yeah, I don't know where those 2 cans of paint come from. They must come from the kitchen. That must have been what hit the door. So I carried 2 things of paint in there with my shadow. I said, while we're up here, you gotta go to the bathroom. She goes, I better. But she said, this time, turn your back toward the bathrooms. I ain't shutting that door. Okay, whatever. So she goes in. I turn my back. She goes to the bathroom. And she says, you ain't peeking. I said, I ain't peeking. Cause I'm busy trying to make sure somebody don't throw a fucking paint can at me, a full one. That's an empty one won't hurt near as bad as a full one. She gets done. I said, let's go have a smoke. So we go outside to have a smoke. She grabbed her another Twinkie to eat. She eat them fucking Twinkies like they was going out of style. But that's her business, it was hers. We had that, I think she was fear eating. We get ready to come back in the house, and I opened the front door. I shit you not. There was a black, looked like a swirling smoke in the outline of a human in the kitchen. I said, you see that? She goes, what the fuck is it? I said, big wispy looking smoke cloud like deal shaped like a human. We must have startled it because when she hollered, the sliding glass door in the kitchen, I mean, it was like somebody trying to break it off. They slammed it so hard it hit the back and bounced back, and this thing shot right through there out into the yard. And she goes, I told you this place haunted. I said, you didn't tell me shit. You just told me to give you the creeps. I said, but I don't know what the hell that was. I said, I've seen stuff like that before in places, but I don't know what it is. So I went over there and checked the door frame, shut that glass door, and locked it. I said, well, you ready to go back to work? And she goes, are you fucking crazy? I said, dude, it's good money. It's easy money. If you don't want to, I'll wrap things up and take you back home. I'll settle up with you. But I said, I need the money. It's easy work. She goes, well, I'm going to stay and work because I need the money too. I said, well, let's go downstairs and go to work. We're downstairs working. The fucking electricity goes off. Now it's pitch black down there we're at. Luckily I smoke. I got my old lighter out and was turned it on. I didn't have a flashlight, it was out in the truck. I'm flicking my flashlight to see. I got my shadow hanging behind me, pushing and crowding. We get upstairs and I said, I wonder where the fuse box is in this fucking place. I said, I wonder if it's in the main bedroom. I said, we're going to have to look around and find it. Well, I found a flashlight in the kitchen. It wasn't the best one in the world, but it worked. It was back there in the blood red bedroom. I checked the breakers, they was on. So I flipped the main off and flipped it back. Nothing. I was like, fucking weird. I said, well, come on, maybe there's one out there too in the machine shed. Because there was a power line that ran from the house to the machine shed. One of those overhead deals, pigtails. Open the door, and it's starting to rain. So we make our way out there, and that one there was still on, and there was lights in the shed. Just no lights in the house. Like, what the fuck? I said, well, hell, while I'm sitting here, I'm going to go ahead and smoke. So I sitting there smoking, and I shit you not. The lights in the house come on, flickered off, on, off, just real fast. I was like, what the hell? She goes, I told you this fucking place gives me the creeps. I said, I know you told me 100 times. Be quiet. It kept doing it, and all of a sudden it stopped with the lights on. Maybe because of the rain. That's what I told her. So I smoked a couple cigarettes, went back in. I'm looking around, I was like, well, that's just fucking crazy. The ones in the machine shed wasn't flickering, only ones in the house. I wasn't going to tell her that. Shit, she's already scared. I said, well, let's go out to the truck, and I'll grab a couple flashlights. And I said, that way if it does again, we got a flashlight to see. So we go out there to get flashlights. And we start back to the house, and the door, outside door on that house, it was shut. But by the time we got almost to the steps, that front end outside door opened, and then the one on the inside opened. I told her it was the wind, but it wasn't. It was like somebody was opening both doors to let us in to get out of the rain. So we went in, dried off, head back down to the basement. Get down there. My tools aren't in the basement. I was like, we were just down here. So we go back upstairs, look around, can't find tools. Like, where the fuck are they at? I said, there's only one place we ain't looked. The blood red bedroom and bathroom. Went in there. There the tools were laying on top of the fucking bed. So we gathered up the stuff, turned the light off, shut the door, and went back down in the basement. She goes, are you screwing with me? I was like, hell no, I'm not. I was with you. I was outside. Fuck. Wasn't me. Do you know anybody that be doing this? I said, fuck, no, hell no, how do I know? I said, there's only two of us here. If I didn't do it, you didn't do it, then it's paranormal, probably. Well, the rest of the night went pretty uneventful. It was like there were just a few hours there that shit would be kind of crazy a little bit. So I blew it off. We got done, wrapped up. I took her home, and I went home and crashed. Well, the next night, it kept raining. So the next night, I went pick her up. We headed up there, and she goes, God damn, that place gives me the creeps. I said, I got a gun. Not that it's going to do any good for spooks, but if it's somebody, they'll get their ass shot. She goes, is it loaded? I said, what? An empty gun ain't worth a shit, is it? Except to throw the gun at them, I guess. Hell yeah, it's empty. Yeah, it's full. I always keep it full. There ain't one in the chamber, though. Keep me from shooting my foot. So we go in there, and these people are getting ready to leave, and I say, hey, is there anything you want to tell me about this house? He goes, why, is there something happening? I said, well, last night there was a few screwy things going on. The night before there was some screwy things going on. Anything you want to tell me? And he goes, well, what do you know about it? Not much. Why? Just other than what I've experienced. Anything you want to tell me, though? He goes, well, they claim, and his wife stepped around the corner and she goes, they claim my ass. You know this place is haunted. She said, just for your information, we bought the place and we moved in here. And said, I kept telling him I was hearing and seeing things. And said one night I had to work later than him, and he come home, and things started acting up. And he called me from a motel and said, when you get off, come to the motel, because I done paid for the motel. That place is haunted, and we ain't going back. I said, that true? And he goes, yeah. He said, I didn't think you'd take the job. I said, I took it, but I said, damn, at least you could have done was told me. I said, there ain't nothing wrong with being scared. Well, then he proceeded to fess up about the other goings on, about the killing and the dog fights and stuff, and how they cleaned up the mess before they even called and got a hold of me to come up there. I said, well, just for your information, I done knew, and I didn't tell on Beanpole. I said, I already knew. I wasn't going to say nothing. He goes, so you're still going to work? Yeah, but if something tries to hurt me, that'll be my last fucking night. I said, no questions asked. He goes, no problem. He said, I'll even throw in a couple extra $100. That's up to you. He said, I'll give you an extra $500. I said, well, I'll tell you what. give me 200 and give Beanpole 300. I said, because just in case she shits her drawer, she can buy her some more undies. And that'll also pay her a little extra to clean up the floor when she shits down both legs and it's all over the floor. But she laughed. She thought that was kind of funny. Well, we went back to work. It rained for a fucking week straight. Never stopped. Well, their sump pump in the basement had quit working. So I tried to mess with it, couldn't get it to work. So I had to call him. And I tell you, I said, there's water starting to fill up in the basement. You need to tell me where I can get a sump pump put in there. Otherwise, that drywall we put up ain't gonna be where the fuck. He goes, I'll get my dad up and we'll be right there. He said, it'd take probably 2 hours. I said, okay. What the hell was I going to do? I went upstairs and got the shop vacs, and we run an extension cord down using the shop vacs to keep the water from getting up. 2 hours later, they showed up. They sat out in the fucking vehicle. So I told her, I said, well, come on. We walked there and I said, you guys going to bring the sump pump in? No. We'll give it to you and you two can take it in and put it in there. I said, well, you fucking chicken shit. So we took the sump pump in, plugged it in, they sat in the vehicle, and water we run it out the window on the ground. They sat out there. So he said, we got a generator here. We'll back the truck up here and we'll stay in the truck all night and plug that thing into the generator in case the electricity goes out, because we ain't going back in the house after dark. Are you fucking shitting me? No. They were going to sit in the truck all night long and run a generator to run the sump pump. We're down there working. And they're up there asleep, backed up against the house, fucking asleep. The doors locked, windows up. We're down there working. Heard the door upstairs open. They had I don't know how many gallons of paint upstairs. Every one of them freaking gallons of paint got moved from in the kitchen by the door, and that door come open, and every one of them freaking paint cans, something was throwing them down there. Paint was going everywhere. Well, when the last one hit, we headed up them stairs. As soon as we made it to the kitchen, to the left, across the room there, was the front door, where those two were parked, up against the steps. As soon as we made it up there, I didn't see it. She later on claimed she seen something, and she fucking turned loose and bolted, and went right out, run into the back of their truck, up over the cab, and jumped off the front and run out to my truck and was underneath of it. So I, looking around, I didn't see nothing. So I go to the door and I hear something. I try and look, and there's one paint can, I don't know where the hell it come from, went flying down toward the red bedroom. And I looked. There, all I seen was it looked like just a head without the rest of the body coming through there by the kitchen. I said, fuck this noise. I walked out there and I said, I'm done. I just seen a freaking head in there floating after a paint can got thrown. He goes, you what? I said, I just seen just a head, no body, after a paint can got thrown. He goes, dude, here's you an extra 500. You don't have to finish it. Fuck this house. He said, all I need you to do is get on the phone and call my wife and tell her what you seen. Because he said, that's what I seen that night I run out of here. So I called and told her, and she goes, is my dad there with my husband? I said, yeah. I said, they said, fuck it, they're leaving. She goes, yeah. Did my husband pay you? Yeah. She goes, fuck it. When this rain quits, we're going to take a whole 5-gallon jug of kerosene and we're burning that fucking house down. Keep the machine shed. So that's up to you. That's a bit. I did see a fucking head. So if he told you he seen one, I just seen one a while ago, and I said, that girl's out there underneath my truck. I tried to get her out from under the truck. She's done. I think that's what she seen. Well, anyway, I'm out there trying to talk her out from under the truck, and we hear these dogs inside the house, and there ain't no dogs in there, barking, throwing a shit fit. Those two guys are sitting there and they hear it too, and they're all eyes looking. This is no shit. It wasn't just maybe 10 minutes, and there was an explosion in the basement. That fucking house caught fire. So the guy said, you gonna call him in? He goes, fuck it, let it burn down. He said, I ain't gonna bother collecting insurance. We'll bring tractors up here and fill the fucking hole in. That house burnt plumb to the ground. And that piece of property is still sitting there, and these people own it. And they live up there, Wisconsin, just right across the border. They still own the property. They ain't never been back. So, the hole is still up there in the ground. But none of us really ever found out why. But later that girl told me that she seen a head coming behind us. That's why she ran out. I guess she didn't fear the crowbar or the 2x4. She feared that head. But I did see it. And that's what she seen. It made her take off. And I didn't see it when she seen it. But when I got to the door to go out, I seen it. That was enough for me. It was a man's head. I couldn't tell you if it had long hair, short hair, blonde hair, brown hair. I'm too busy to get in that fucking door. When you see a head like that floating through a house, and ain't no body, yeah, you ain't gonna stick around and count hairs either. Hairs don't mean shit. When you seen a head floating around, it's time to get the fuck out of Dodge. And I did. Fuck that. Now, if any of you think you're brave and you tell me what you do when you see just a head with no body floating through a house or going through a cemetery or whatever, you tell me if you're going to go up there and ask that thing where's its hands and legs and feet. Yeah, you're going to be running just like I did. You're going to be saying, fuck this, you're out of here. That's a true story. That did happen. And that house did burn down. And this guy and his father-in-law, they did not call the fire department. They let that son of a bitch burn. After all the work they'd put into it, they let that son of a bitch burn, and they ain't been back since. Because when I left from up there, I called the guy and I said, are you going to put the place up for sale? And he goes, I wouldn't wish that place on nobody. He said, I had enough. It can just, we'll pay taxes on it. It can just set. As far as I know, to this day, they still own the property and it still sets. Out in the middle of Bubba fuck Egypt. So if you ever come across anything like that and you've ever seen a head floating like there, you'll know what I'm talking about. It will raise the hairs on your ass so tight, they'll pop like a banjo string. I shit you not. Take my word for it. So, that's my true story for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. If you liked any part of it, leave me a comment. If you ain't subscribed, subscribe, because there's more ghost stories to come. More crazy ghost stories that are true. I ain't telling shit on here that ain't true, including stuff about my life. Everything on this channel is true. But I will tell you this much. I don't put up with trolls. I like the subscribers I've got, but if there's any trolls and I sniff you out, I will send you back to the fucking underneath the bridge. Other than that, I hope you enjoy my stories. Leave me a comment. Hell, tell me what you think. Whether you liked it, scary or funny. Leave me a comment. I'll answer you back. Just try to be nice, though. And like I said, I know I've got some people that they think they a little slick. And they stalk me. And I call them fucking trolls. I can call them a lot worse. But we'll stick with troll. So, I ain't here to play troll games. I ain't here to be stalked. I'm just here to maybe take your mind off some of the bad, trouble things going on in the world. There's enough bullshit in the news. I don't even watch fucking news no more. I only check the weather. There's so much shit going on. Maybe these stories help to take your mind off of it. Maybe you listen to them while you're walking your dog. Maybe you listen to them while you're in doing 10-200 in the bathroom. I don't know. But if you enjoyed them, give me a thumbs up. Maybe let me know what you liked about it or what you didn't like about it. And if it's a question, I'll try to answer it, if we got an answer. If not, we'll find an answer. But I have no clue who that dude's head was that was floating through that house. All I know was I was glad the sunbitch burned down. Did I burn down? No, it just caught fire, and it sounded like an explosion, caught fire, started burning, and the people let it burn. That place did exist, and I could show you where this place was at. It was north of Rock Falls in Sterling, Illinois, out in the middle of nowhere. I only tell true stories. Most of them involve me. If not, it was somebody I know it involved, but if I tell you I was involved, I was there, then I was there. I've had a lot of shit happen. I've experienced a lot of weird shit. I'm surprised I've got a sane mind or any mind at all. But in any case, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a like, leave a comment, maybe leave a smiley face. Just don't leave the middle finger. I'll see you on the next one. Y'all have a good night, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for your time of watching, and I do appreciate the subscribers. Thank you. Y'all have a good night.